I'd like to call this meeting to order. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to newspapers, posted on the bulletin board of City Hall and on the doors of the 3 schools as required in the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, and as amended by PL 2020, Chapter 11. Please rise for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to this meeting. Once again, this is a hybrid meeting. We are open to the public, but we also are live streaming so that the public can watch if they wish to do so. We also have board members that are joining us via Zoom. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Conover.
Here.
Mrs. DeChico.
Here.
Dr. Dalton.
Here.
Dr. Myers.
Here.
Mrs. Platt.
Here.
Mrs. Samuelson.
Here.
Mr. Sweeter. Mrs. Lout.
Here.
And Mrs. Endicott.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve item 2A, minutes for July 23rd, regular meeting and executive, as well as our special meeting held on August 6th.
Motion, Samuelson.
Thank you.
Second, Lot.
Thank you. Any questions? May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Conover.
Yes.
Mrs. DeChico.
Yes.
Dr. Dalton.
Yes.
Dr. Myers.
Yes.
Mrs. Platt.
Yes.
And Mrs. Samuelson.
Yes.
Mrs. Lout.
Yes.
And Mrs. Endicott.
Yes. Thank you. Motion approved. Okay, public forum. Any members of the public like to address the board regarding agenda items only?
Mrs. Endicott, we have one item that references to agenda items, and it comes from Josh Tostevin. And it says, "Good evening, administrators and Board of Education members. My name is Josh Tostevin, the president of Summers Point Education Association. As you know, school districts across the state were charged with devising a reopening plan that included an in-person scenario, hybrid scenario, and full virtual scenario. To that end, many stakeholders throughout the district came together to formulate a comprehensive plan, with the final result is a hybrid model of in-person and virtual learning, with measures such as social distancing, mask wearing, and sanitizing stations for both students and staff. To be sure, we know that the administration has an insurmountable task to reopening our schools in these unprecedented and difficult times. And while these measures are well intended, we are still concerned. As we prepare to embark on this hybrid opening, we know that although time and money has been invested to improve it, the Summers Point schools have an HVAC system that has a history of failure, resulting in inconsistent temperature, high humidity, and mold. While concerning during any school year, this is unacceptable during this pandemic, especially since particles from the virus can be transmitted through the poor ventilation. Our students deserve to learn in a safe environment with minimal risk of transmission. While we are looking forward to the engineer's inspection report, we have little confidence that the indoor air quality will be adequate throughout the year, not to mention the disaster that can ensue by populating our hallways and classrooms with students and staff. We know that keeping your kids distance and masked all day long is next to impossible. We all want what is best for our students. After discussing these factors and considering the safety of the students and staff, an overwhelming number of SBEA members feel that this district should reevaluate the reopening plan to an all virtual model. In this model, you can expect the social, emotional, and academic needs of our students to be met with an exceeding level of rigor, challenge, and empathy our members exhibit on a daily basis. As a Summers Point family, there are just too many variables, too many unknowns, and too many what ifs to gamble with the health and safety of our students and staff. Don't just take our word for it. After the governor announced last week allowing districts the ability to open virtually, other districts in the area have recently taken this step to open the school year remotely. Districts such as EHT, Atlantic City, Pleasantville, Avalon, Stone Harbor, Delsey Regional, Vineland, Millville, and Bridgeton have announced they are opening remotely. And as others are strongly considering taking this step, the list keeps growing. If the decision is made to go remote, please know that it is our intention to deliver standards-aligned instruction, that it is structured, rigorous, and includes best teaching practices. As with anything, we have learned through trial and error and plan to rise to the occasion, challenge learners, and empower the children of Summers Point with the tools needed for success. A remote option ensures that our focus and emphasis is on ensuring equitable, differentiated instruction versus student and staff safety. We urge you to join this group of districts and make the decision to open our schools remotely. We know it isn't an easy decision. We know it may not be a comfortable decision, but we also know it is the right decision. Thank you.
Mrs. Endicott, I also have another comment that just came in from
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Darcy Broglin Drutz from 8th grade science. As of August 19th, 63 school districts in the state of New Jersey have made the decision to keep their student, faculty, and staff safe by beginning the school year completely virtual. What makes Summers Point School District different? What protocols make Summers Point safer than other districts who have already chosen to go remote? Students, faculty, and staff have struggled with respiratory issues in our buildings during the normal school year due to poor HVAC systems, windows that don't stay open, air conditioning that does not work consistently, and mold in our buildings. Now we are going to add COVID-19 to an already bad situation. Think about how you would feel if a student, faculty, or staff member would get sick or dies due to the decision you are making or effectively not making. What happens when someone from school brings the virus home to a family member that affects them? How many students, faculty, or staff is acceptable number to get sick before you make the decision to keep us safe by going virtual? As board members, are you able to live with your decisions? ? Below is a list of school districts that have moved to remote learning as of August 19th. Atlantic City, Egg Harbor Township, Pleasantville, Edgewater, Fair Lawn, Garfield, Hackensack, New Milford, Teaneck, Burlington Township, Chesterfield, Palmyra, West Hampton, and the list goes on. It's a very lengthy list, and I won't indulge the group, but it is 63 schools. Thank you.
Mrs. Endicott, I have one more that has come in.
Thank you.
Good evening, board. My daughter is entering kindergarten at Dawes Avenue. As I try to prepare her for her new school year, I have some questions. Will there be any kind of open house or orientation for the kindergartners to tour the building and meet their teachers? When will we be notified of who their teachers are and which day or days they will be attending person school? And when will be given a supply list of what needs to be purchased for the upcoming school year? I would think, given the fact the kids aren't supposed to share school supplies, the parents will need to purchase some additional supplies this year. I understand there times have been difficult, and we appreciate the hard work you have all put in. But with the school year just a few weeks away, there are some things I think a lot of parents would like to know to try and prepare. Thank you. And I have it coming from Danielle D. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other members of the public like to address the board regarding agenda items only? Again, any questions can be directed to public comment at sptsd.org.
I have none.
I have none as well.
Okay, give it about 30 more seconds, and then I will close public comment. Okay, public forum is now closed. Moving on, we have no presentations this evening. So we'll move to number 5, superintendent's report. Can I have a motion to approve items A through C, please?
Motion, Samuelson.
Second, DeChico?
Thank you. Any questions? We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mrs. DeChico,
Yes.
Dr. Dalton,
Yes.
Dr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Platt,
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lau,
Yes.
and Mrs. Endicott.
Yes, thank you. Motion approved. Item 5D, I'm going to move toward the end of the agenda at this time. And I have a motion to approve item 5E, please.
Motion, Samuelson.
Second, Lot.
Second, Platt.
Thank you. Any questions? We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mrs. DeChico,
Yes.
Dr. Dalton,
Yes.
Dr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Platt,
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lau,
Yes.
and Mrs. Endicott.
Yes, thank you. Motion approved. Okay, committee reports. Mrs. Law, Student and Community Affairs.
Okay, so the committee met on Monday, August 10th. The majority of our discussion was on, of course, the reopening plan of the district. The plan was submitted to the county for review. Dr. Crive reiterated that the plan at any time can change with the changing guidelines. Next, Dr. Pass gave an update on the change in the ELA curriculum and gave a brief presentation showing us some of the data from previous years that has driven this change. Thank you.
Thank you. Instruction, Ms. Samuelson.
Yes, we met on August 11th. Dr. Paz presented her interpretation of our ELA test data over the years and discussed why the change to the ELA curriculum would be appropriate, both due to our testing data as well as moving into a hybrid learning environment to ensure that all students had the same access, whether they were in person or learning from home. And we also discussed the reopening plan.
Thank you. Mr. Sweeter is not here. Mrs. Samuelson, do you mind providing a brief update for finance? I apologize.
No problem. We also met for finance on August 11th. We discussed the upcoming HVAC system evaluation, some pending repairs throughout the district, as well as the reopening plan.
Thank you. We have nothing to report from City Council. I'd like to move back to 5D under Superintendent's Report for the reopening plan. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Thank you.
Dr. Myers.
Second, Samuelson.
Thank you. Dr. Carney Ray Yoder, if you can give just review for the board as well as for the public, the reopening plan and the point of this resolution in terms of what you submitted to the county office and
might-
what happened after that, please.
It would be my pleasure. So basically, the reason that we have this back on the agenda is because I submitted the plan on the 7th of August to the county superintendent. I received a phone call on Friday the 14th to ask me to have an appointment. And we set up an appointment for this past Tuesday to review questions and concerns about the plan. The only plan question there was regarding the actual hybrid schedule and about the number of contact times. The requirement is 240 minutes of direct contact with students, and there was concern that it might be a little short. Dr. Cost and I spoke to our county superintendent, Mr. Bob Bumpus, and reviewed his thoughts, shared with him some of our thoughts about the hybrid model and how we could adjust. And we told him that we would tweak based upon his recommendation and fix the plan. In addition, he did question a little bit about our remote option. And I told him that we were actually looking at some other ways to have more direct instruction in a remote setting. And we would adjust that as well. So what we did was we went back to tweak the plan, and we now have a plan that addresses his concerns of the contact time in a hybrid fashion. In addition to the remote face-to-face, our plan is regardless of whether it's hybrid or remote, that students will have face-to-face contact time with their teachers throughout the morning hours of 8:20 for the middle school and 8:45 for pre-K through 3. And the teachers will be working directly with the students. And then in the afternoon, there is prep and lunch for the teachers. And then there's an additional time for check-in, for small group instruction, for SEL, synchronous and asynchronous learning. And that are the revisions that we have on the agenda. And I just wanted to make sure that it was run through the Board of Education. And then future revisions or tweaks will go through, will be submitted directly based upon the superintendent's guidance.
So I guess my question is what were because I saw the document that you updated, what were the specific changes to the schedule in terms of the concern from the county was that there wasn't enough contact time. So what were the changes made for the hybrid option due to that contact time?
We ensured that there were break times for the students as far as like a recess, like walking break, in addition to making sure that 240 of those minutes were direct contact time with the teachers. We had it blocked out for like a 4-hour window, and that's just 240 minutes. So we added 20 minutes to that plan to make sure that encompassed any walking breaks in addition to direct access. It's something that they're looking for at the state level, and it's part of the checklist, and he wanted to make sure that was clearly defined in our schedule.
Okay. Are there changes regarding, is it still the plan to have an AA day and then off Wednesday?
Yes, there is still a plan. We're still missing data, which is hard with the planning process, and for the families that are looking for schedules and looking for different information about the start of school. We're still missing about 240 of our families that have not updated their information as far as their learning environment. That makes it real hard to plan cohorts. Right now, we are looking at probably about 45% of our population that's looking to go completely virtual, and 55% of our children that are looking to stay in a hybrid fashion, face-to-face and in person. But we're still missing about 240 of our children and their data, in addition to missing data on the staff as far as attendance and showing up for school.
Okay, so in terms of the plan that you're submitting, the students are still going to be able to be going to school 2 days in person?
As far as the hybrid plan, but I have put on a recommendation to start in a full remote option for at least the first 2 months of school.
Right, but but in terms of your hybrid plan, I know that there was a question earlier that they're based upon what they were asking for at the county You might not have been able to even do, if for the hybrid, even 2 days a week per student. But
Correct.
You were able to work it so that would
Correct.
still remain.
Correct.
I'm sorry, that was my question. I just wanted
Correct.
to be sure. Okay, so you've made changes to the schedule, but the hybrid plan that you plan on submitting under this resolution would still be for the hybrid 2 days
AA
in
virtual
person.
Wednesday BB. Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Dr. Carney-Yoder, where will the staff be working if you are all remote?
If we are all remote, I am going to request that the staff have the opportunity to work within the buildings and work within their classrooms. But we do have to allow for some flexibility for staff that may be immunocompromised or have their families immunocompromised or other issues that are covered under the Corona Families First Act.
And would that be an inequitable situation if you're having your special education staff required to report to the buildings?
Could be seen that way. And that is something that we're looking at from a special education perspective. Mrs. Wagner-Fain is looking at that scheduling as well to see what she's going to do with her staff as well. Any other questions from the board?
Any other questions? Okay, so just to clarify, this motion is for the resolution for the reopening plan that you're submitting to the revision that you have to submit to the county office with the 3 options.
Correct.
The hybrid plan that you have in place that we had originally that you need to correct. You had to provide a remote option anyway, should a decision be made to switch to remote, and you had to have the full return to normal option
Correct.
as well. So for this motion, it's just to approve the revised plan that you need to resubmit to the county because they had questions with the original one that was submitted that we approved on our meeting August 6th.
Correct. And future revisions, Mrs. Endicott, because, I'm not sure if there's going to be any revisions that come back. And I just wanted to make sure that I could get those revisions in a timely fashion because school starts for the students on September 8th.
Okay. Future revisions, but the board would be notified prior to
Absolutely.
any of those revisions.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
So the plan we're approving tonight is a hybrid start for September 8th?
This plan right now that we have a motion for is just the reopening plan that needed to be revised to the county that has all 3 options, the hybrid
3
option,
options.
the return to normal, and the remote. Those are the 3 things that were required. So this motion right now is just to approve that, and it has in there to be able to submit any additional revisions that they ask for without us having to come to the full board meeting to take action. So Dr. Carney-Yoder has said if that's approved, then she would be notifying us prior to submitting any revisions requested, but we wouldn't need full board action, a full board meeting to take action in order to do so.
I have a question. So the 3 plans that are being submitted, one is fully virtual, one is hybrid, and one is like complete return to school. That is required by the county, correct?
That is required by the state of New Jersey, correct?
The state. Okay. Now I
And
understand.
Mrs. Dalton, that was the plan that we had our special meeting on August 6th that we approved, but the county had some additional things that needed to be added. So
Yeah.
that's why we're discussing it again.
So we essentially tweaked it and we're resubmitting it.
Correct.
That is
Right?
correct.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. And I have roll call, please.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mrs. DeChico,
Yes.
Dr. Dalton,
Yes.
Dr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Platt,
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson,
Yes.
Mrs. Slough,
Yes.
and Mrs. Endicott.
Yes, thank you. Motion approved. Okay. Moving on to agreements, applications, and contracts. We have a motion to approve item 8A through B, please.
Motion, Samuelson.
Thank you.
Second, Dalton?
Thank you. Any questions? May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mrs. Zuchiko?
Yes.
Dr. Dalton?
Yes.
Dr. Myers?
Yes.
Mrs. Platt?
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson?
Yes.
Mrs. Law?
Yes.
And Mrs. Endicott?
Yes, thank you. Motion approved. Okay, moving on, we are going to come back to 9A curriculum. Moving on to facilities. Can I have a motion to approve items 10A through C, please?
Motion, Lot.
Second, Platt?
Thank you. Any questions?
It was items A through what letter?
A through C, please.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions? Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mrs. Zuchiko?
Yes.
Dr. Dalton?
Yes.
Dr. Myers?
Yes.
Mrs. Platt?
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson?
Yes.
Mrs. Law?
Yes.
And Mrs. Endicott?
Yes, thank you. Motion approved. Moving on to finance. Can I have a motion to approve items 11A through F, please?
Motion, Myers.
Thank you.
Second, Samuelson.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just had a question on how much we received for the digital divide grant. I think we discussed that at the finance meeting, but I don't have the minutes in front of me.
The digital, yes.
The digital divide is additional monies that the governor and the Department of Ed have put together. And the items that we will be buying with the digital divide is the iPads for grades pre-K through 2.
And was it about $50,000? Is that what it was? Okay, thank you.
Along with some other monies from the CARE grant, yes. But this was specific to buying either the technology equipment or the hotspots needed.
Okay,
So this is going directly dedicated to that.
thank you.
Okay.
I have a question. Can you refresh my memory on the CER proprietary funds?
Because we have the auditors in right now, and because we eliminated the CER program from the district, the auditors want us to close out that bank account also, since it's in the name of Summers Point Board of Education. All right,
Thank
so
you.
they asked at the end of August if we would close it out.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you to Staples for donating school supplies.
Thank you.
I was very excited to get that phone call.
Yes, how much is that donation?
They're actually donating the supplies. They did not clarify. They just gave us a call and said they'd be donating supplies if we would accept them for all 3 schools.
That's wonderful. May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mrs. Zuchiko?
Yes.
Dr. Dalton?
Yes.
Dr. Myers?
Yes.
Mrs. Platt?
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lout?
Yes.
And Mrs. Endicott?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion approved. Moving on to personnel. I have a motion to approve items 12A through F, please. 12A through F.
Motion, Sarah, Platt.
Thank you.
Second, Samuelson.
Thank you. Any questions? We have roll call, please.
Mr. Platt,
Yes, A through E. I'm going to abstain on F.
Thank you.
A through
A through E, he abstains on F.
abstain on F. Okay, thank you. Mrs. Natiko?
Yes.
Dr. Dalton?
Yes.
Dr. Myers?
Yes.
Mrs. Platt?
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lau?
Yes.
And Mrs. Endicott?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion approved. Okay, moving on, item 12G, we're gonna come back to that as well. Moving on to 13 policies. So we have one policy up for second reading. That is the remote learning policy. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion, Platt.
Second.
Second.
Samuelson.
Whatever. Yeah. What are the other?
Thank you. Any questions? I did have a question since we are on our second reading, under D of the policy, where it talks about transitioning back from families who may choose the full-time remote option to transitioning back to the in-person. Just a couple questions. The one part kind of talks when the family wants to request to transition back. There needs, obviously it can only be during marking periods or trimesters in terms of planning. It needs to be in advance, which all makes sense for planning. But then there's a part that talks about in order to do so, the family needs to submit information or documentation with their request. Wouldn't all that documentation already be available? Like I don't want to put that on the family of having to submit documentation in order to kind of in terms of what they've been doing, because isn't the plan, if students choose to do remote, that they're going to be working with their teacher anyway? So I guess my question would be, why would the family have to submit what they were doing, like the summary of what they were doing in order to come back, I guess is my question.
That is just in case some of them are operating, fully virtual and might not be in as much contact with their teachers, to make sure that we have that information on file. And then our families would, if they choose in between marking periods, like let's just say a family goes two trimesters and they want to have their child come back for the third trimester, they would have to notify the school district so we could change that learning environment in their profile.
Right. So the notification, I completely understand, but the reason why this is there, in case, for argument's sake, you have a family that maybe they haven't been logging on during the remote time, or maybe they haven't been submitting the assignments that the teacher has been putting out there, and now they submit to want to come back, but the school doesn't have anything because it hasn't been turned in according to the due dates. So
Absolutely.
in that case, that would be the reason of why they would then be asked, okay, tell me what you guys have been doing. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That was my first question. Thank you for clearing that up.
You're welcome.
The second question that I have with that is under 5, the students that are transitioning, still under D, but number 5, students transitioning back to the educational program would be required to submit an assessment prior to being placed in the class. Is this the same as kind of the original, what we just talked about? If this is if they hadn't been turning in their assessments, Okay, so it's not, I just want to make it clear, it's not going to be like the person who wants to come back from remote, you got to take a placement test in order to be
No.
back into that
No,
class.
that's
that you
not
were
it
in.
at all.
Okay, I just wanted to
And
be
it's more
sure.
just to safeguard the district so that we have the data for proper placement once a student comes back from a completely virtual world.
Okay, so again, in the situation, if that family chose the remote option, but they were submitting all their assignments and meeting with all the in-person classes, the family wouldn't be asked to do that. This is
No.
just in the case if those tests weren't taken or things weren't turned in, that we have
Correct.
that there. Okay.
Correct.
I wanted to
Great questions.
I just wanted to make sure. And then the last question on that was submitting to the COVID screening process upon reentry. Does that just mean what the school does every day? Okay, so not a separate one that they would have to go to the
No.
doctor and get anything. It would just be they're submitting to what the students who are getting every day, who have been coming to school, they would be doing that as well.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted
You're
to
welcome.
clarify to make sure. I have no other questions. Any other questions?
Yes, Myers, I have a question.
Thank you.
It
Go ahead.
does say under 4C that the student shall submit to COVID screening process upon reentry, including a doctor's clearance. So I'm not sure why they would, if they're getting the COVID screenings and the family has not said that they were COVID positive, they just chose to do remote learning. Why do they need to incur the expense of going to a physician or a primary care provider for a clearance?
Well, the clearance would be, we would actually have the nursing department handle all of the readmission into school. And if there are families that leave because like we wind up having a student that is on remote because of a case, then we would make sure that that would happen. It's just the safeguard for the district in case we do have active cases to make sure that we're protecting the district. It's
All
only for known cases. It's not for a student that's out on virtual because they're immunocompromised. And then they decide that they want to come back because either a vaccine is in place or, there are treatments for this at some point. They would be able to, we would want the students that are just out because they were concerned, they wouldn't have to submit something like that. But the students that are out because of a possible active case, we would obviously want medical documentation to allow them back into the building, just as we would with anybody that comes into our buildings.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the students who are getting the remote learning because they're getting cleared because they're getting a COVID screening.
Yes, or
So
they're
we have
in,
to-
or they're in isolation, or they're in quarantine. It's just to cover the district to make sure that they're safe to enter back into our buildings.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mrs. Fajita,
Yeah.
Dr. Dalton,
Yes.
Dr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Platt,
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lau,
Yes.
and Mrs. Endicott.
Yes. Thank you. Motion approved. We have no professional services to approve this evening. So we'll move on to items 15 through 17, which is the transfer of funds, secretary and treasurer's financial reports. I have a motion, please.
Motion, Samuelson.
Thank you.
Second, Platt.
Thank you. Any questions? May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mrs. Fajita,
Yes.
Dr. Dalton,
Yes.
Dr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Platt,
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lau,
Yes.
and Mrs. Endicott.
Yes. Thank you. Motion approved. Okay, may I have a motion to pay the bills, please, this month?
Motion, Platt.
Thank you.
Second, Samuelson.
Thank you.
Either one.
Who did the bills for this month?
I did.
Sarah first.
Thank you, Mrs. Platt.
Mrs. Platt and Mrs. Samuelson second. They're
Thank you.
rotating.
I did not do them.
Oh, you did?
But I appreciate whoever did.
Oh,
Myers.
oh, Dr. Myers did. Thank you. I'm sorry. And it's hard for me to, I'm so far away. It's hard for me to see your faces up there. They're all blurry. So I just heard an I did, but I thought it was Miss Platt's voice. Thank you, Dr. Myers, for doing the bills this month. Can I, any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mrs. DeChico. Yes. Oh, yeah? Okay. Dr. Dalton,
Yes.
Dr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Platt,
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lau,
Yes.
and Mrs. Endicott.
Yes. Thank you. Motion approved. Would any members of the public like to address the board? Again, if you're watching from home, the email address that you can send any public comments are public comment, that's all one word, @sptsd.org.
Okay, so Dr. Murmur, you take 1. I got 2,
I'll
3,
do 3
and I'll do 4. Okay.
We have 4 comments that were made. Erin Albrecht, 6th grade ELA teacher. Recently, during the parent town hall meeting, it was mentioned that the K-8 ELA curriculum would be changing from the current Readers and Writers Workshop model to a program called ELA Education. In speaking with some fellow ELA teachers, we agree that the work put into the reopening plan by the committee is noticed and appreciated, but the introduction of a brand new program has raised some concerns. As it stands, all educators are facing a new challenge in September. Whether we successfully continue with the plan of hybrid teaching or eventually end up virtual again, this new school year has several impending changes. Those changes in Summers Point currently include the switch from the Marzano to the Danielson framework for evaluation, the mandatory incorporation of on-course classroom learning management system, use of a new program called Go Guardian, departmentalized teaching, rotating and teaching in various classrooms throughout the day, and the implementation of hybrid teaching. To then also add in a brand new ELA program that the vast majority of the teachers have never seen nor used before seems like an unnecessary addition during the unprecedented times. With less than 2 weeks before teachers report to school, with 3 days of professional development, the ELA teachers have not yet received any training in implementing this new program, and as a result, will have very little time to prepare. As I'm sure many of you know, Summers Point educators want to see students succeed. The students will be facing a very different school experience, whether they choose to attend hybrid or virtually. Given the shortened class times and limited in-person learning days, it will be extremely important for the teachers to have a firm grasp on what they are teaching, delivering the essentials in an as seamless a way as possible, while also adhering to social distancing and safety guidelines. With only 3 days of professional development and many different training needs, the learning and planning of a new program is incredibly overwhelming. The original daunting task of revising the previous curriculum to fit into this new learning environment is minimal in comparison to learning and planning for an entirely new program in such a short amount of time. A big issue here with adopting a brand new program is not so much the change itself, but the timing. To add a new ELA curriculum to the ever-growing list of changes for this school year would be detrimental to the students and staff. How many changes do we expect our students and teachers to endure during this unprecedented and unpredictable time? I feel that a reasonable plan for implementing a new curriculum should include adequate training as well as sometime later this year spent piloting the EL education program while utilizing it within our already established curriculum as possible in September. Thank you for taking the time to acknowledge my concerns and for reconsidering adopting this program as a pilot. Erin Albright.
And our next one is from Danielle Levine, and she is a 7th grade ELA teacher. Recently, during the parent town hall meeting, it was mentioned that the K-8 ELA curriculum will be changing from the current Readers Writers Workshop model to a program called EL Education. In talking to other ELA teachers, we have discussed our concerns with our voice and expertise being taken out of the development of our curriculum. According to our new teacher evaluation model, Danielson, there are 4 key domains to effective teaching. Domain 1 focuses on crucial importance of planning and preparation. According to this framework, it is critical for our it's critical that teachers do the following as a best practice: demonstrate knowledge of content and pedagogy, set instructional outcomes, demonstrate knowledge of resources, and design coherent instruction. Prior to this curriculum change, Summers Point has effectively given teachers the ability to communicate their knowledge of content into curriculum in order to design coherent instruction. However, this abrupt curriculum change brings up concerns that directly impact the effectiveness of the content I am teaching. I want our students and parents to succeed this school year in the new virtual world that we are all encountering, and that responsibility will inevitably fall on the shoulders of our teachers. Teachers need to be set up to succeed with a curriculum that they are confident in order to successfully communicate with parents and students, and teachers need to be experts in their curriculum so that they can answer parent questions and modify as needed. With no training and only 2 weeks before the school starts, I am extremely concerned about a curriculum change. Communication is key in not only developing a successful curriculum, but specifically one that is appropriate for our students of Summers Point. Moving forward, I hope that this will not become a norm to take the stakeholders out of the planning and preparation of curriculum. Thank you for taking time to acknowledge my concerns and for reconsidering adopting this program as a pilot. Danielle Levine.
Thank you. The next comment comes from Jennifer Rowe, 7th grade teacher. About a month ago, during the parent town hall meeting, the teacher learned that the K-8 ELA curriculum would be changed from the current Readers and Writers Workshop model to a program called EL Education. After speaking with some of my colleagues, we are hoping that the goal this school year will be to pilot this program at some point and discuss in ELA PLCs to provide feedback before completely adopting it. As a special education teacher and ELA in-class support teacher, I feel it would be best to continue the best practices that we already have in place and work collaboratively to incorporate this new program as a pilot. In just a couple of weeks, students will return to school, some working all virtually and some in hybrid settings. Even if students do return in a hybrid setting, they will have minimal in-person learning hours. With the large amount of virtual learning that will take place, it is inevitable the curriculum will need to be adjusted, modified, and differentiated even more than it normally is. It is beneficial to do so with our current curriculum, as we are extremely comfortable with the content and are able to alter lessons as needed to best accommodate our students and their parents. Whether in a special education classroom or a general education classroom, making modifications to curriculum on the fly is critical to the art of teaching. With a new and unfamiliar curriculum, teachers would not have the concrete knowledge to make these changes or adjustments for content skills, pacing, assessments, etc. I understand that the goal with this new curriculum is to create equity for all. However, it seems that the attention to the personalizing student engagement and rigorous lessons within a curriculum we're familiar with will be a unnecessary difficult task, as the focus will be on learning a new curriculum as well. Students will be at a disadvantage to have their teachers already juggling a lot of new aspects of teaching, while also having to understand a new curriculum. Through a pilot and discussions in PLCs, perhaps the curriculum will become more equitable by strengthening all programs, including the ones that are already producing great results. By using a portion of this year as a chance to officially pilot EL education, we can meet in ELA PLCs to strengthen our understanding of the curriculum, gather resources, and adapt the curriculum to meet our district's needs. Thank you for taking the time to acknowledge my concerns and for reconsidering adopting this program as a pilot. Jennifer Rowe.
The last one that I have is from Nicole Magnotta. She's an 8th grade ELA teacher. At the virtual town hall meeting for parents on July 29th, my colleagues and I learned that the district ELA curriculum will be changing to EL education. It is clear that over the years, administration has tried to improve climate and culture, school climate and culture, morale, and emotional reaction of a person to their job is an important component to an effective learning environment. Positive school culture lends itself to high morale among staff, which contributes to student achievement. One important aspect of positive school culture includes collaborative efforts from all stakeholders, administrators, educators, students, and parents. The implementation of the Renaissance program is one step towards a positive school culture and increased morale. That being said, the addition of a completely new ELA program without input from those who will be teaching the program during a global pandemic does not help with the goal of increasing morale. Furthermore, the expectations to be fully trained in a new program only days before students are welcomed into the buildings also goes against that goal. If ELA staff is trained properly and effectively in those first days of professional development, they will still be required to use much of their own time during the following weekend to make sure that they have planned, printed, copied, revised, and digitized the content along with requiring and reading accompanying texts. While this is specifically in regards to ELA curriculum change, it is important to note that morale affects all members of the school community. To conclude, the goals of this statement is to encourage everyone to consider the importance of school climate and culture when it comes to the overall effectiveness of our district, to ensure that in the future, a positive environment can be maintained with open lines of communication between administration and staff. Thank you for taking the time to acknowledge my concerns and for reconsidering adopting this program as a pilot. Nicole Magnotta.
And Mrs. Endicott, I have one more.
Okay, thank
That
you.
came in as an email
Thank you.
from Nicole Barnaby.
Thank you.
Dr. Cry mentioned keeping a log of what your child is doing at home. Is this for all virtual children? What needs to be in the log? What format? How much detail?
I can answer that. Is that okay to answer?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that question, Mrs. Barnaby. Actually, the log is not necessary for our families who are logging on daily. Their students are logging on daily and interacting with their teachers. This is only for families that maybe do not have as much, are not able to log on a daily basis. So as long as your child is communicating with their teacher and doing their assignments and doing their classwork, then they are fine, and a log is not required because they will receive grades for that.
Dr. Carter, did you want to make any comments regarding the previous public comments?
I would.
Okay.
So I have made it perfectly clear with 7 weeks to plan that there's a lot of stuff that just has to change, and that's because of leadership, that we have to take and acknowledge things that have to change for the better from the couple months that we've been out of school and observation. And I just want to go over, we've shared that this is not a new curriculum. This is to support the current Readers Writers Workshop that we have. I am not taking away a Readers Writers Workshop, so I'm not sure why there's a misunderstanding there. These are materials that are virtual to support our students to help them improve. We have shared that over the years that we have had students that have lost ground that have been in district, and we are trying to address that need. In addition, we have to make sure that we are looking to meet students where they are, and that is 6 months of no direct formal instruction within a classroom, and that is also important for our students. We need to ensure that students have the same base of ELA experience based upon a virtual learning environments, and that's why we put this into place and did not pilot it because we don't have time. We just don't have time to pilot something right now because we need supports for our teachers. All EL education materials can be modified for all learners, which support recouping the learning that they've lost with being in this global pandemic. The ELA teachers were given the links for the EL education site, and many have been exploring the site and sharing what they have found with Dr. Koss, our new supervisor of curriculum. PD modules are available on the site for free and are available to all staff to review. In addition, the program was set up in a workshop model. While the books may change, the model is similar to what is being done already. They are standards aligned, and that it is updated as standards are updated and needs are updated. So it's a constant current support for our teachers. The program can function as a scripted program, simply print and present. We do not have to ask or suggest that this happen, but that is an option if a teacher wants to do that. The PD is scheduled for the beginning of the school year and to work through what they've learned, and is also scheduled. Ahead of that, the teachers have access to all materials in PD that can be accessed online through PowerPoints, and the Detroit website was shared because they are a best practice of using this material. And we cannot continue to do as we've done. We've seen a lot of things that need to be better this time around, and that's why we are using this as a curriculum support to our current Readers Writers Workshop. So I hope that clarifies for my ELA teachers.
Thank you, Dr. Carter.
You're welcome.
Do you have any other members of the public that would like to address the board? Please remember that the email address is public comment, that's all one word, at sptsd.org. Okay.
Mrs. Endicott, I don't have anything at this time.
Okay, I'm going to give it another minute just
Okay.
due to the streaming delays, just in case. Okay, public forum is now closed.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Oh, do we have one?
I thought I had one and then it disappeared. So
Okay, are we sure we don't have any?
Mrs. Barnaby, I think something came up, but I can't tell. So I'm going to, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them in my office. Just give me a call. I can't see it. I thought
Okay.
it popped up and then it disappeared.
Okay. Okay, public comment is now closed. At this point, I would like a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel and school safety and security.
Motion, Samuelson?
Thank you.
Second, Dalton.
Thank you. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of the City of Summers Point in the County of Atlantic, New Jersey, that upon passage of this resolution, go into executive session to discuss the following matters: personnel and school safety and security. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, at this point, we are now in executive session. If the public would kindly exit through those doors, we will let you know when we resume and we go back into public. And for those that are watching us at home, the broadcast will restream when we resume our public meeting. Thank you.
Are we okay? Okay, so we can't put people in the waiting room and leave them there? All right. Are the board members still on?
Yes,
We'll send you a new link right now.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Board members, yeah, you'll get a new private link and then, sorry, can we just leave? We can't, oh, because we're streaming.
And we don't want to take a chance on it.
So we're leaving this stream and reconnecting?
Yes, John, I'm going to send that to you. Just give me 2 minutes, okay?
Yeah, he's good. Board members, you're going to get a new link to go into that's
Executive,
secure
make sure we're off
for
the screen.
executive session. So that's gonna come to you in a minute. Are we're not live streaming anymore? Are we live? Okay.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Kathy.
Okay,
Hi.
thanks.
It says they're still connecting.
There wasn't anyone else waiting outside, right? Okay.
This is
What
join
the-
with computer audio.
Okay, returning to item 9A under curriculum, the 2020-2021 reopening plan. I have a motion.
Motion, Samuelson.
Thank you.
Second Lot.
Thank you. Okay, due to the new guidance, well, there has been ongoing guidance throughout these months, but since there was new guidance given by the governor last Wednesday on August the 11th, as well as the Department of Health on August the 13th, there have been new guidelines and some conflicting guidelines that school districts have been charged with trying to address. So at this time, the motion will be for remote learning, New York Avenue and Dawes Avenue attending on the currently proposed hybrid schedule until all students are one-to-one with technology, and Jordan will begin the school year fully remote. Are there any questions or comments?
Change in date of the resolution to October 23,
Thank you.
2020.
And at which time we will address the time frame that this will occur will be until October 23rd of 2020. We will reassess during the month of October if that date needs to be adjusted. But at this time, what we currently have a motion for is for until October 23rd of 2020. Students at New York Avenue and Dawes Avenue School will be attending in person on a hybrid schedule until all students are paired one-to-one with technology, and that Jordan will begin the school year fully remote.
Mrs. Endicott, I just wanted to clarify that we had a technology shipping delay, and that is why the recommendation is being made for New York Avenue and Dawes, because we can't ask them to start remotely without access to technology.
Thank you, Mrs. Samuelson. Yes, for the public, there is a concern with a delay for that technology that we're waiting for that shipment to come in. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Conover. Mrs. DeChico.
Yes.
Dr. Dalton.
Yes.
Dr. Myers.
Yes.
Mrs. Platt.
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson.
No.
Mrs. Lout.
Yes.
And Mrs. Endicott.
No. Motion approved. Okay, moving on to personnel, item 12G. I have a motion to approve.
Motion, Samuelson.
Thank you.
Second, DeChico.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Conover, just in case he happens to hop on. Mrs. DeChico,
Yes.
Dr. Dalton,
Yes.
Dr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Platt,
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lout,
Yes.
and Mrs. Endicott.
Yes, thank you. Motion approved. Okay, moving on. I'd like a motion at this time to rescind all activities and activities director, coaching, and athletic director appointments made in 2020 for the 2020-21 school year.
Motion, Samuelson.
Second, Myers.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Conover, Mrs. DeChico,
Yes.
Dr. Dalton,
Yes.
Dr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Platt,
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lout,
Yes.
and Mrs. Endicott.
Yes, thank you. Motion approved. Okay, we already did public comment, but since I'm going to open up again to the public. In case there's any comments or questions.
Mrs. Endicott,
Yes.
I do have 2 additional questions that came in.
Okay, 1 minute. Again, if there's any questions from the public, you can email at this time, public comment, all one word, @sptsd.org, while we listen to the other comments that have came in already. Thank you, Dr. Romer.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
From Lacine Johnson, public comment. When will families be informed of the days they are to report to school and who their assigned teachers will be?
Plan is to have, after this meeting, we will have everything out by the beginning of next week.
By when?
Do you need a microphone? I don't think they can hear you.
I'm sorry. Testing. We will have everything after this meeting. We'll be working to finalize details, and information will be going out to parents beginning of next week.
Okay, thank you. Note to the public, we still have how many families that have not responded?
230.
We still have 230 the families of 230 students who have not responded regarding their intentions for hybrid or for remote instruction. So please do so if you have not already. Thank you very much.
And the second question is almost similar. With over 200 families still missing registration information, and this is from Devin Osler. What is the deadline for the letters to be sent out? I know a lot of parents are eager to prepare schedules and purchase supplies and would prefer not to do it at the last minute.
Absolutely. And as I said, we will have everything out to the parents beginning of the week for our supply lists, and also what days to plan on hybrid when hybrid is initiated, which for our elementary students, they will start hybrid and move to remote once they have their devices. And then our students in the middle school will start remote, and we will have you also have your information as soon as we have that. The elementary school students are obviously the priority at this point, since they will still be attending school the first couple weeks of school.
Okay,
And I have a couple more.
Okay.
thank you. One more
Okay.
question before you do the other more. What is, can you remind the public, what is the first day of school for students?
First day of school for students is September 8th, the day after our holiday.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Mrs.
The
Dr.
first
Romer.
one is from Tiffany in an email. Will we have ability to pick days based on work schedule? And are they half or full days for pre-K?
I'm sorry,
will they have the ability to pick the day, pick days based on their own work schedule? I'm going to assume. And are they half or full days for pre-K?
All students are half day. And the parents, if they have a special circumstance, they should reach out to their principal. They should reach out to their principal, and all that information is on the website. We actually have just changed the website around, and all of the hot links are definitely much easier to get to, including our YMCA information for childcare is all on the main page of the website.
Thank you.
And the last one I have is Allison Carroll by email. Can you clarify something? Will Dawes and New York Avenue start hybrid, then go remote? Wouldn't students need the devices for the hybrid as well?
The students will start hybrid and then go remote. And because they are going to have in-person socially distanced masked instruction, we won't have devices until they come in. So that's the reason we're starting as in a hybrid model, so that our students can still get instruction.
So even on the virtual days that those students that are attending, if they attend Monday and Tuesday, but if they stay home Wednesday, because everyone's home Thursday and Friday, those students will have been provided with papers and packet
Correct.
work so that they can be working on
Correct.
while they're at home.
Correct.
Because we do not have the technology for one-to-one.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you, Mrs. Endicott.
No problem.
That's all I have.
Okay, I will leave it open for 30 more seconds. Public comment. Again, public comment, all one word, at sptsd.org before I close public session. Okay, public comment is now closed. Moving on to board forum. Any members of the board like to speak? No, hearing none. Okay. I would like to thank Dr. Carney Rayoder and the administration and the nurses and teachers, all the people who have been in working, trying to make sense out of the constantly changing information that is being out there and the landscape that's constantly changing to try to come to some sort of resolution. We know how difficult this situation has been for all of you. So I'd like to acknowledge that and thank you for that.
Thank you, Mrs. Endicott. And I would like to thank all of the members of the reopening committee for all of your hard work and due diligence to help us try to make sense of this whole process.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
This is, excuse me, Mrs. Endicott, can you announce the special meeting?
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
The Board of Education will be holding a special meeting on this Tuesday, which is August 25th at 4 p.m. It will be a special meeting held in the same format as this meeting currently is. So we will be here at Jordan Road School, open to the public, but we'll also be live streaming for those individuals that would prefer to be able to observe and participate from home due to the risk of exposure. So it will be the same format. And again, that special meeting will be on Tuesday, August 25th at 4 p.m. Motion to adjourn.
Motion, Samuelson?
Thank you.
Second.
Myers.
Thank you.
Everybody's tired.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
My battery